All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, another problem that we have to talk about in the black community that is hurting us is the single parent homes. Now, before we get into it, I gotta say this. For all the people who love throwing out these biased and skewed statistics, now all these people that would say, well, there's 70 something percent black single mothers. That does not mean the kid does not have a father. It doesn't even mean that the mother and father aren't living together in a healthy, happy home. It only means that they're not married. There could be a couple that is so non-religious that they wouldn't get married, or they don't believe in marriage, or they don't support the laws around marriage in America today. But they have a happy, healthy relationship and they're able to raise a happy, healthy child, as opposed to a married couple where the father rapes the daughter for years.
More than 14,000 people have demanded the impeachment of a Montana judge who sentenced a 40-year-old man to just 60 days in jail for repeatedly and incestuously raping a 12-year-old girl. Prosecutors asked District Judge John McKeon to sentence the man to 100 years in prison with 75 years suspended. Instead, the judge handed down a measly 60-day jail term with credit for 17 already served, on top of a fully suspended 30-year prison sentence. An online petition calling for McKeon's impeachment sprung up immediately after the sentencing last week. By Tuesday afternoon, more than 14,600 people signed it, just about 400 signatures shy of its 15,000 name goal.
A Glasgow man who admitted he raped a 12-year-old girl will not spend a single day in prison. 40-year-old Martin Joseph Blake, sentenced Wednesday in Valley County District Court to 30 years to the Montana State Prison, with all of that time suspended. Blake was ordered by Judge John McKeon to spend 43 days in jail, as well as complete sex offender treatment. But that's not the sentence recommended by the prosecutor, Dylan Jensen. In the plea agreement entered early in July, Jensen agreed to 100 years to the state prison with 75 years suspended.
40-year-old Martin Blake admitted he raped the girl and agreed to a 25-year prison sentence in a plea agreement with prosecutors. But Judge McKeon says a sex offender treatment provider determined Blake would benefit from community treatment. The judge also wrote in his statement to us today that prosecutors did not dispute the evidence offered by the expert. McKeon added that the victim's mother and grandmother testified in Blake's defense and said he did not deserve to spend years behind bars. At his sentencing, the judge called the sentence quite restrictive and quite rigorous.
Today, outrage is growing over the probationary sentence given to a Glasgow man who admitted he raped a 12-year-old girl. More than 2,500 people have signed a petition that went up just last night on change.org, calling for the impeachment of Judge John McKeon. Anger stemming from McKeon's decision not to sentence 40-year-old Martin Blake to any time in prison for raping that child. Blake was sentenced to 30 years to the Montana State Prison with all of that time suspended. Petitioners say McKeon failed the community by letting Blake go free. McKeon is set to retire at the end of November.
And the mom even talking about forgiveness because they have other kids and he needs to influence his other children. That's sick. I would rather take the healthy, unmarried couple than the married, sick couple. But there are too many fatherless homes and even motherless homes. And we can get into the history of why all of this is going on, and we should, because that would solve a lot of the problems by going to the roots. But as a black man, I gotta express some of the problems that we are facing today. And this is not just a black problem, it's an American problem. But as a black man in America, there is tons of reasons why I would hesitate to marry or have children with a woman. And I'm not coming at it from a perspective of, well, women don't choose nice guys finish last. And brothers, if you're one of those people who say nice guys finish last, the truth is, it's confidence. You just don't have enough confidence to go for what you want to go for. And women are attracted to confidence. But as a black man who is responsible, who goes to work every day, who take care of whatever I'm supposed to take care of, There are plenty of things that scare you away from wanting to get married and have children in today's age. And the thing that women need to understand is not only nature that gives you the power of reproduction, you have the power of reproduction in the law. Even when it comes to getting pregnant, we both have the ability to say, no, I don't want to have sex. Both have the ability to maintain abstinence. And women say, if you don't want to have a baby, keep it in your pants. Which is no different than a man saying, if you don't want to get pregnant, keep your legs closed. It's the same thing. But if we do both decide to have consensual intercourse, the power of balance starts to favor you a whole lot. Because when it comes to protection, men have one form of protection. And fellas, wear a condom every single time. Destroy your sperm, because the courts don't give a fuck about anything. In America, a woman can steal your sperm, and you are responsible for whatever happens. You are responsible for every drop of sperm that leaves your body. So destroy all your sperm and always wear a condom. But women have 12 forms of birth control, and many of them are more effective than condoms are. And both the man and the woman should be wearing protection. Condoms are not protection for women, they're for men. And women should have their own form of protection if you're not trying to have a baby. But even then, of course, protection is not 100%. But even then, women have more options. Men have no more options. We're out of options at this point. Women can go to the store and get a plan B and not get pregnant. But even if it gets past that stage, women still have the ability to get an abortion in America today. Whether you agree with it or not, that's a whole nother debate. That's a whole nother topic. But as of right now, women still have the ability to get an abortion. And even if you decide to carry on with the birth, women have the ability to give it away for adoption. Men do not have that choice. And women will not be responsible. Now, here's the thing. Even if we have a baby totally consensual and we both agree on it, but it just doesn't work out, me as a man, I'm in a bad situation. And most women say, well, that's no excuse. Just go to court and try to get visitation. But most courts only worry about child support, and they don't enforce visitation. Because even if the mother decides not to give you visitation of your own kid, what are they going to do? Are they going to put her in jail? No, they're not. And the state doesn't care because their goal is just to make money off of all of this tragedy. And your answer is put yourself on child support to try to get visitation with your children. You should definitely support your children, but I'm not in favor of supporting the damn state off of my children's money. But I have seen so many men who take this advice and put themselves on child support and try to go to court for their children's custody and for visitation of their children. And while the courts are getting better over time slowly, I have seen so many men get screwed in court, so I don't even know how good that option is. I've seen even men who win visitation and the mother still disobeys what the court says and the court does nothing. I've seen men who lose everything trying to get custody of their children and still lose. If the mother isn't like a crackhead or some kind of criminal, it is a steep uphill climb for a man. And if you get the wrong woman pregnant, no matter what you do for life, you will be at the mercy of her. If you somehow make a success of yourself one day, she can come and take it all away from you if you get involved with the wrong person. There are so many dangers that women don't even pay attention to or don't hear men's concern about. And I'm not blaming all of this on black women. Black women don't create policy. Black women didn't create the society that we live in, especially in America. But we as black men and black women both share responsibility in the issues in our community and fixing those issues in our community. Because from here, we have no other choice but to fix the issues in our community ourselves. And it's things that both black men and black women can do. I think that no man or woman should have kids before 30. It'll give you a chance to establish your career, to travel the world, to gain experience, to get to know yourself, to know what you like and what you don't like so you can pick an appropriate partner. And it's no rush. I mean, think about it. Even if you start having sex at 13 or 14 and you wait until you're 30, that's only like 16 or 17 years of experience. And most people are living to 80 or 90. So that'll be 60 or 70 years with one person compared to having a varied experience for 16 years. And I think you should be with somebody for at least 5 years before having a baby with somebody. I mean, at least living together for 3 years. That first year will be great, you know. You'll be loving living with each other. By that second year, those little things that they do that annoy you, you start to kind of stand out. By that third year, you probably start hating each other. If you can be together for 5 years, living together, especially for 3 years, you're probably going to be able to be together for 18 to 21 years to raise a child together. And you don't have to just sit there and wait for 5 years or 3 years to be up. You can go out and have experiences together. You can go out and do all the things that you won't be able to do once you have the kids. You can do those things then. And then once you have the kid, you can do things as a family. But most of all, we got to stop pointing the finger at each other. We got to be better than that. We're not going to get anywhere saying, well, it's black women's fault, or saying, well, it's black men's fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it is at this point. Right now, we got to figure out how the hell we're going to fix it. How the hell we're going to rebuild our family structure, because those are our children's first teachers. We are the only ones who are going to teach our history. The mother and the father is the one who instills the mindset in the child, especially if you do it right. You don't want the American education system instilling a mindset in your children. You don't want the TV instilling a mindset in your children. As parents, you got to instill that mindset into your children. But first, you got to learn that mindset yourself. Education starts in the home, and that's why I think this is an important subject that we need to talk about. So, I want to hear what you got to say about it.
I think death would be easier than a divorce.
It's very frustrating to have gone for help and then come out with your family destroyed.
We have serious problems in our family law court system.
Getting divorced is far from easy.
Litigation lasted for over a year.
I was married only 4 months, and my divorce has lasted over 6.5 years.
Close to 8 years.
8 years.
Why is divorce so difficult?
People can get as much justice as they can afford. Most people cannot afford any justice at all.
What's wrong with that? This is a business.
The more you charge, the more people are willing to pay.
They didn't give me a lawyer. Pay this $11,000 or go to jail. It really got to the end of the line for me.
And I said to the litigants, I want you to know, after 2 hours, we will have spent more than most people in this courthouse make in a year.
Your home, your valuables are all going to be sold to pay the lawyers and people like me.
Even though I was acquitted, he still made a decision to take my son away from me. His birthday was last week, and I didn't get to see him.
What you have is a tinderbox, and the lawyers are throwing gasoline on that fire.
The system is designed to create conflict.
I received a phone call for another $25,000. He'd be able to give us what we wanted. Extortion?
Family court results in more violence than any other area of law.
Deaths, suicide, murder.
No jury, just the one biased judge.
The judge says, even if you win, you have to pay.
The whole thing is just insane.
Follow the money.
Can I say bye to my son? Bye. Can I say bye to my son? Can I hold him? I can't hold him.
Leave him around. Just ask you to go ahead and leave.
You know? You told me that you didn't care when that shit, remember?
I just said bye when you said leave. You said you was leaving.
Right, but I can't
you
hold my son.
You said bye.
I can't hold my son. Shit went bad that quick. I really can't hold my son.
You leaving, ain't you?
Because of you, your attitude. You did it.
Okay, you can go ahead.
You said something off the wall shit. I can't hold my son.
I say don't touch him, don't pick him up, don't worry about
Yeah,
him.
you said don't touch him, don't pick him up, don't worry about him.
Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, you said it wasn't just my phone. You're not my girl.
I don't give a fuck. I said don't touch him, don't worry about him. Why did you do it on your phone?
What they got to do with anything?
Your phone with.
What they got to
Say
do with
nothing.
anything?
I just said it.
All right, bet. What can they give him a kiss?
It's happening to men across Michigan. They are being forced to pay child support as dads by default.
Doesn't matter. If the men can prove the children are not theirs, Michigan law makes them pay anyway.
But tonight, 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell tells us that may be about to change.
Most people think you either have to adopt or conceive a baby to become legally responsible for a child. Under Michigan law, that is simply not how it works.
I was the father by default.
These 4 men came to the 7 Action News studios to raise awareness. You could become dad by default. There are a couple ways it happens. Pastor Edward Mack says his previous wife had 3 children. He loved them as his own. Then he realized 2 of them were not biologically his.
You must have been so heartbroken.
Kim, it was a hurting thing. I don't even really want to talk about it because it brings tears to my eyes. Sorry for getting teary-eyed.
Pastor Mack says the betrayal led to divorce. He was shocked when the judge told him because he was married, he became dad by default. He had to pay support for another man's children.
Let her pay for him. Let her get the man she laid down with to pay for him. He goes free.
I never even slept with her. I got a lawsuit when I was young, and she basically just said, that's the money I'm gonna get, and she got it.
Reginald Whitlow, Anthony Sims, and Carnell Alexander have similar stories. They say women named them out of nowhere. In 2014, 7 Action News told Carnell's story and found the mother. She said she was told in order to get welfare benefits, she needed to name a father. She knew he wasn't the dad, but wrote down his name anyway.
Everything is my fault that I put him through.
Do you think that he should have to pay this money?
No, he shouldn't have to pay it at all.
Then these men missed paternity hearings because they were either sick or did not receive notice. Carnell had proof. He was in prison when a process server claimed he was served at a house in Highland Park. When they didn't show up at court, a judge ruled them dads by default. They then missed their chance to challenge it with DNA evidence by the court deadline because they couldn't find the women and children.
They wouldn't give me her address because it was confidential.
These men all eventually got DNA tests backing their stories. Too late.
Oftentimes it doesn't make a difference.
Representative Jim Runstead says those DNA tests should make a difference. The Republican from White Lake says he heard the story of Carnell Alexander on 7 Action News and decided to take action. He says this year he hopes to pass legislation that would protect men from being forced to pay for another man's children. Plus, women and process servers who lie should face stiff legal consequences.
This is wrong. Deceiving and lying and obligating people who are not supposed to be obligated to pay bills is wrong.
These men don't just want the law changed to protect others. They want compensation.
I'm getting garnished. I'm getting thrown in jail. I'm getting felony charges.
You have taken our lives. Change that law.
Representative Runstead says he has written 5 draft bills that aim to prevent such fraud, protecting both men and children. He says he plans to introduce them within the next month.
Well, a Houston father is facing 180 days in jail for overpaying his child support and over-visiting his 11-year-old son. His attorney and a community activist are now demanding answers. Randy Wallace joins us live with a story you'll see only on Fox. Randy?
Don, we all expect to see judges throw the book at fathers who fail to pay child support. But a father who says he's been doing the right thing now has an arrest warrant against him.
It's my responsibility to take care of it. You know, I brought him in this world. I have to.
Clifford Hall says he's more than happy to pay child support for his 11-year-old son.
I'm his father. You know, it's my responsibility to take care of it.
But Hall says when the amount of child support was modified, no one told him.
I discovered that for some reason his employer was withholding a large amount some weeks, a small amount some weeks, zero amount some weeks.
And I didn't want to go to jail, basically.
So Hall quickly paid almost $3 grand in back child support. When Hall and his ex-wife were in Judge Lisa Millard's court last November, he owed nothing.
Opposing counsel testified twice that he's all paid up.
But the attorney representing the child's mother wanted Hall to pay her $3 grand in attorney fees, and Judge Millard agreed. Court documents also reveal Hall wasn't following the court's scheduled times to pick up his son, another modification he says he knew nothing about.
The judge ended up sentencing him to 6 months in jail.
When she said, remand you to the Harris County Jail for 180 days, my mouth just dropped.
This entire situation is shocking to me. I've never seen one like this.
Community activist Cornell X wants the state's judicial board to investigate.
The court failed the child. The court failed Mr. Hall. The system broke down.
I can't be there for my son in jail. I can't pay child support in jail. This is not in the best interest of the child.
Judge Lisa Millard says Hall walked out of court after he was found in contempt, which she says is a big no-no. Judge Millard also points out Hall's attorney could have filed a motion for reconsideration. She says that would have allowed her to hear both sides again and reevaluate the situation. Hall's attorney is now working on an appeal, and in a few days, Hall plans to turn himself in, and Don will, of course, keep everybody posted on how this plays out.
It really is a strange situation.
Very, very, very strange. I mean, it kind of shows that sometimes these things can be changed, modified. Maybe one parent doesn't know, but it's very confusing, and you've got to wonder how this man could go to jail for this.
Because I need answers. As custodial parent, I'm supposed to know exactly what's what.
Kim, can I leave now?
Can you please tell me where you cut my children's hair?
I
gave
my kids a haircut.
You had no authority. Did you come?
Do you have my kids behind her?
Did you consult with me?
Kim, let me peel off.
Did you consult with me?
Can I leave now?
Let's be a man for once.
Can I leave?
Did you consult with me? Ma, can you get the police because he's taking my photo because he won't tell me exactly what happened. He has no right to do that. I asked you a simple question.
So your mom going to get the police?
I don't know. I'm asking you a question. Where did you do this? Earl, they don't
Kim, you are really making the kids nervous.
Earl, I know my own children ever since. Okay?
Ever since what?
I know my children.
Ever since what?
Since you abandoned them.
I abandoned
them, okay?
Oh, I thought I left you.
No, I'm recording it too, just to make sure that we're even, Steven, okay?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
That's no problem.
Oh, don't scratch the car.
Oh, no, scratch the car. Go ahead, do whatever you want to do.
Come on, let me hold the train.
No, that's their train.
I got the train until...
Okay, hold on. No, you hold on to that train. Don't let him take that away from you. Nope.
Don't let him put the train on the car, please,
Then
Kim.
you need to tell me exactly what happened.
Oh, see, you got the boys crying.
Well, you took his train.
Don't scratch the car.
I didn't take it.
Don't scratch the car.
Question.
Get daddy a kiss. Get daddy a kiss.
Answer the question.
Look. Can I pick him up, Kim?
Put him down.
Can I pick the
You're
kid
over
up?
the time.
Let me pick
You're
the
over
kid.
the time.
So I can't pick the kids up?
Let go. Would you tell me what you did?
So I can't pick the kids
Can
up?
you tell me what you did?
They got a haircut, Kim.
Where? Where, Earl? You put a shaver to their head. How dare you do that?
You finished? And your mom was going to get the police, huh? Kim, would you please have them get the train off the car?
Answer the question.
I'm going to take the train from them. Okay,
Take them and then they'll be bowling and it's all you. That's it.
They can't have the train on the car.
Well, then
now,
you need to answer the
then
question.
Why don't you back up from the car
You
then?
need to answer the question.
Back up from the car.
They're going to remember you as an image of taking this away.
Then back up from the car, Kim.
Then answer my question, please.
Back up from the car.
Answer my question.
Kim, you shouldn't be doing this in front of the kids.
Would you please tell me? You're doing it, Earl. Who gave you the right to do that? Who gave you the right?
Oh, I wish you let me leave, Kim.
Who gave you the right? You were over an hour and a half late. Go ahead, get your train, sweetie. Who gave you the right to shave their head?
What? Don't I pay child support? And don't they my kids too?
Child support has nothing to do. You are non-custodial with visitation. You have no rights whatsoever to do anything like this without consulting with me first.